Hi, welcome to another episode of Overnight Success. My name is Ighalo, and today I am joined by architect, photographer, and traveler Akose Enebeli.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's my name.
Thank you for joining us today. So, when I interview my friends on here, I start by asking them a slightly silly question, just kind of get an idea of their personalities. And
Okay.
so, imagine as you step out of the studio now, you see an envelope on the floor. There's a lot of money in it.
Voila.
But there's no CCTV. So do you take the money and put it in your jacket and just continue your day, or do you report it to police?
There's a high chance I'll report to the police. Very high chance.
Okay. Why?
Sure, but actually, I might not pick it up.
Why? You're scared you something else?
You see where I'm going? There's always that first vibe like, but yeah, you didn't specify how much. Yeah, it's plenty like that.
Okay, let's just say 5 figures. 5 figures pounds.
I'm a police will be alright too.
So you pick it up?
Yeah, I'll then pick it up and report it for sure.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ighalo. I'm a lawyer, writer, and journalist, and I'm also editor-in-chief of Culture Custodian. Overnight Success is an interview series where I speak to some of my favorite creators and entrepreneurs on the journeys and stories that got them to where they are. That is, young, successful people doing interesting things. I don't think there's any such thing as an overnight success, or is there? Find out more by watching this video. And when you're done, please subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, and share it with as many people as possible. Thank you. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Overnight Success. Yeah. So that leads me somewhere. So you grew up in Lagos.
Yes, I did.
Talk to me about your childhood and what that experience was like.
My childhood was it was fun. It was okay. I'm the fifth of 5 boys. I don't like saying I'm the last. So I mean, having 4 elder brothers was, I don't know how to explain it. I don't call it a war zone, but you have all boys. Yeah. It was always one person's doing one thing, and then I wasn't very sociable as a kid. We had a pretty large compound in my family home, so all my playing adventures in the compound there, climb trees, play with ball. Maybe your cousins come around, you do all this to a side, play a side kind of thing. Yeah, then I spent a lot of time drawing. I drew a whole lot as a kid. I was always tearing people's notes, tearing my own notes. I know my parents beat me a number of times for that.
What were you drawing?
Oh, a lot of things, but I drew houses the most. Yeah, I drew houses the most, but I would draw cars, houses, animals once in a while. But cars and houses were the most,
So it's funny because when you say you're drawing cars and houses, I'm here picturing like a young boy. In my own case, if I was drawing, maybe I'd have been drawing trainers, or it'd have been like football jerseys or stuff like that.
Oh, that's
I'm not even a sneakerhead like that, but like what you picked, like those are very, it's almost like you were an Agba. as you were just like growing up. So would you say that's where like the interest in like architecture came
100%.
from?
I say this a lot, that architecture chose me because I like how you pointed, you're an Agba. A child should have been drawing what children should draw.
Yeah.
Now you see, I never thought about it. I was drawn to houses. I don't know how, I don't know why. I was drawn to houses and I used to just draw houses. Why, I don't know.
The other thing where I kind of feel like there's like, I relate to this is when I was younger, I used to want to be an architect.
Yeah, joking.
Yeah, but
I don't believe you.
No, listen to me. I used to want to be an architect because I thought it sounded very cool.
Oh, really?
Not for any other reason than the fact that I thought it sounded very cool. And I had an uncle who was an architect.
So that's the crazy part. I didn't have any uncle I can think of that was an architect.
But I got into secondary school and I started doing TD and I hated it. So I knew that.
Mine was the other way around.
You loved it. I'm sure you loved it.
Classmates, or I want to say colleagues, classmates, they hated me. TD was like, I just do them and you get it right. That kind of like, it was so effortless. There was a story I told very recently that all my classmates know about. The way some lecturers can get. When we're in year 1, we're not allowed to use computers to draw. Because the idea was let them be sure that you can actually sketch and do stuff with your hands as an architect, right? Yeah. Then, further down the line, we start using computers to draw. And if you draw with computer and they will fail you. It's not up for conversation. It sees computer drawing, you're failed. So of course, lecturer, it was my turn. I brought my drawings and I looked at it, and he was like, "You use computer?" No, use computer. My classmates gathered like, "Sir, we saw this guy draw this," and I said, "No, this can't be hand drawn." And he was reading, but because my classmates actually stood up, like, because they used to beef me, like, guy, calm down now. Why is your drawing looking so? You get so yeah, but I mean, I escaped that.
When I introduced you, I called you an architect, a photographer, and a traveler. So talk to me about those interests, where they come from, and how they intersect.
Okay, so my interests overall is just from a point of creativity. So I do architecture mainly, I do photography, and I do a bit of art, right? Photography was just a hobby that came from, you know how you're hanging out with your guys, you guys can either be taking a trip or whatever, and there's just always that person that, I beg, sharply take me one nice picture. So I was the one that was never in front of the camera. I was always behind the camera. We're 16 here, and like, guys, let's take a quick picture. Akose, quickly take us picture. Because I was the one that just had that, let me say, eye for detail. It wasn't something that I was pursuing initially. Then there was a phase in my life, I think between 2017 and about 2019. I actually had a photography exhibition in 2019. I traveled a lot. I don't remember why I traveled a lot. So I went to South Africa, Rwanda, Kenya, London, America, did a number of countries. And the first trip I was taking to New York, I remember vividly I was torn in between getting a good phone and getting a camera to travel with. I went to getting a camera, so I got a DSLR camera.
Yeah.
And that was basically how the journey started. I went to New York. At that time, it was just traveling, take picture. I wasn't in the pictures, by the way.
Yeah.
It was me just taking pictures. And I came back, showed me, these pictures look mad, Oh, okay, all right, then I got a better lens, got a better camera, just like that. Then as I was traveling, just taking pictures. And at the end of 2018, I saw the catalog of all the pictures. And like, my guy was like, yeah, you should just go for it. Like, nobody has really, all the photographers I know, everybody just go shoot wedding, go back home, go shoot wedding. You understand? And like, this exhibition thing has been a childhood dream, but I didn't know I wanted to exhibit. It's always been, I must do an exhibition in my life.
Yeah.
It's like, guy, look at how many countries, how many photographers do you know right now have this number of countries and have this, you know what, let me do it. So just put all the pictures together and just put word out. And the exhibition was a success.
Okay. And so earlier on, you were talking about your experience in university. So you studied architecture at Unilag.
Yeah, I did.
So talk to me about that experience. What was it like?
It was fun, honestly, because I was doing something I enjoyed doing. I mean, architecture was, I won't say predominantly your sketching skills, your drawing, your conceptual ideas for whatever assignment you get. So I feel bad saying this on camera, but when you have other subjects, right? Courses, yeah. There was a course in architecture that was 6 units at a time, and then it became 16 units. It was like I can't remember, it's called Studio, I think. The fundamental course that it just, I mean, for it to be 6 units when your other courses are 2 units and 3 units, you can imagine how much weight. So that 6 units, I always got an A in it. Because to me, that was the biggest part of architecture, and that was the part that I almost effortlessly did.
When you finished a Unilag, you ended up going into the workplace.
Yeah.
When you're at that stage of being a young architect and you're looking or thinking of places to obviously build your experience, what were the factors you were considering?
I'll be very honest with you. I was a young man. I did not think about factors.
So what do you care about? Just the money?
No. I wanted to just get a job.
Okay.
So the first job I got, honestly, it was the last day of my presentation. After my first degree, as in I got a BSc in architecture, I did master's in environmental design. So after the masters, you have your final presentation. That's usually your final year thing. What people do as projects. You have a final presentation. They would have given you a topic. It could be design a hotel, mine was a hotel. So I designed a hotel, did all my case studies, concept, yada yada, finished. And then I was driving a friend to drop him off at the school gate or something funny. And then one of his friends, one connection, somehow just called in like, there's one architect that's looking for a young architect. I'm like, I don't understand, I'm here. Why can't I take the job? Yeah. So there was no much thought to say this job I want to take has to be in a multinational company, minimum salary has to be this. I just really wanted to work and do architecture. And that's how I went for the interview and got the job.
Okay, so now with the benefits of hindsight, what things would you have been considering? What would you have been looking for at the time?
It's not in a regret
way.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that if I were given the opportunity, I probably might have still gone the same route because I learned a lot.
Okay.
You know, I went to work with this architect, and he was very instrumental in my growth. You know,
okay,
we'll go through stuff together. You know, there's some architects that just throw the job at you and, you know, figure it out. You know, but he'll walk you through a number of things. So the experience, you know, helped. Then from there, I worked in a real estate firm. So the real estate firm was the real pivotal part for me because that made me see the business of architecture differently. Yeah. Because, you know, architects are just predominantly, you're my client, you give me a brief, I get it done. The real estate guys focus on the business part of it, which is they most times just want to
sell at scale.
I wanted to say make money, but I was trying to say
sell at scale.
So an architect comes into this your space, right? Says, oh, there's a skylight, there's this, there's that. Let us try and maximize the light. Let's try and maximize this. It has to be conducive. It has to be this, that. A real estate guy comes from the business point of view that, you can make 6 rooms out of here. You can make. Do you understand? I don't know if you get where I'm coming from. So with that in mind, I had gotten the routine or the foundation in
design,
actual architecture, you know, getting designs right, all that stuff. Then I now got a second part of which was more like, you know, understanding a business part of it. You know, till date, I still fight a lot of developers. I try to not work with them because they try to force you to do things you don't want to do. So I run away from a lot of them because their own is, I've looked at this space. This space is just ideal for a studio and one thing. Like, nah, you can squeeze in 6 rooms here now. I don't know if you've interacted with people like that.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I will always walk away because I'm big on my name. I'm big on my ideas. I don't want to be tied to something that you say, this guy, you were involved in that building that you did that kind of, it bothers me. So if I'm not into it, I would rather walk away.
Is that quote? I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember it, but it's like when money comes into the room, like God walks out. Like where's that?
I've never heard of it, but I understand the story. I get
it. It's like when they obviously people have like different interests, like the different things that they are prioritizing. And so it's like you come into the room, obviously the real estate guys, they're just looking for how are we going to sell, what are we going to do. So you've spoken about obviously wanting to build your own practice. Like you've spoken about the experience of getting like the architectural foundation, then also getting like the commercial, like the real estate foundation. So at a point you decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set up my own practice. So first of all, where did that confidence come from?
So there was this project we were working on in that real estate company, and it required us to go to Abia State. There were 2 architects in the company, myself and a very close friend of mine. And this project was so massive. I'm trying to see how I can give you a sense of scale of how massive this project was. It was really massive. I can't really explain, but it was just 2 of us that really went through sleepless nights, tons of stuff to just ensure that project got to the point where the governor wanted to sign the MOU and all that. I prefer not to say this on air, but there was some poor management in the company, and things started getting weird financially and all that, pay cuts, all that stuff. And then at one point, it just hit me like, yo, this project is a project that they give, you know, international architecture firms, and they have maybe a fleet of 62 architects that sit down and get this thing done. But it's just you and this guy that actually pull this thing off in a space of how many months of sleepless nights, sleepless renders, this, that. Like, you know what? I'm done. And that was it. I just put in my resignation. The realization that, look, if only you, let me use you as the other guy, if only 2 of us could build something this big for a real estate company, imagine what I can do for myself. So like, you know what? There's more to me than me just looking at myself as waiting for a paycheck from this company and then, you know, just being funny with things now. And that was it. I just packed my bags, dropped my resignation letter and moved.
One thing that anyone who has ever like tried to run or build their own business will know is that, and I think it's the difference between being an employee and being an employer. as an employer, you are responsible for developing business. If you do not develop business, that experience you had will be repeated. So, obviously, okay, you've come out, you're starting your own thing. What's your approach in terms of how I'm going to generate business? Like in terms of trying to build your business, but also to build it in a way where you have obviously clients and clients who are paying well or who are giving you money.
Okay, so the first thing that really matters to me and directly affects my business is consistency. I talk about consistency in your brand, your business, your work. I feel like there are very few things you can mention on this earth, no matter how flimsy you think it is. If you know someone that is consistently working at it, the person is making something out of it. I don't know if that makes sense. And I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what it is for me. So stay steadfast and consistent with our business, our jobs, and so architects should not advertise, just like lawyers and doctors as well. You can't advertise. So your work should speak for you. And that's what's been happening. So we just put in our best and try and be consistent at it. And it's been working.
Digging into your background, it seems you have your clientele is very high profile. So how do you build that type of clientele?
If I tell you see consistency, you would not believe me. But it's just consistency.
Okay.
Right. Since we're telling stories, I can tell you a short story of how I got to the clients or the clientele I have. Simple. I had met a very senior colleague of mine. He's a quantity surveyor. Okay. I mean, still in the built environment. Yeah. And then he had called me up all that. By the way, I don't watch football. I'm just saying that to let you, so you don't abuse me on the next thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So he called me up all that there was this project for a footballer. He mentioned the footballer's name. Okay, sure, I can help you out with it, no problem. And then say, okay, we'll meet us also day, yada, yada. I mean, all the fine details we met up. And when we were talking about the kind of house, so at that point, I had not met the footballer. I was meeting a representative of his. So they're communicating his vision. And, in a few, I was like, oh yeah, sure, I understand what you guys are saying. Like, I know that, they want to be, and I know, I understand. By the time I'm done with my concept, all that, you guys will love it. Like, I was ridiculously confident that, well, he would love it. With what you've explained, don't worry, I can visualize it. And then we went ahead, that was it. And when I did all the visuals, concept, everything, and sent, the intermediary person just reached out to me. You were right. I'm like, okay. Like, yeah, he loved it. He's ready for us to move. Okay, move where? Let us start the design. I'm like, okay, but I told you we're going to get it. And that was it. So went ahead to do the design. Finished the design. Now, the person in question was Ighalo. At the time, I didn't know who he was. He was a Nigerian footballer. I was Nigeria's number 9 at the time. Yeah. So, I mean, if you watch football, I assume you should have known him.
Yeah.
The day I knew who he really was in quotes, because he's a big man.
He's the one that gave us favor over labor.
Yeah, he's the one that gave that line. He's the one that gave that line. So the day I really let me say experienced him was one day he came to site, and then all the masons, bricklayers, all the guys, all of them would kneel down and do like that. I'm like, why?
Yeah, that's a celebration.
Bro, I did not know that. I didn't know. I was wondering what they were doing then. Of course, because when you start working with someone, right, you should just have some interest in what the person does, or at least, for lack of a better word, due diligence. Do you understand? And that was it. So I went to look and like, oh. And every time I was like, oh. Then when I heard he was loaned or signed by Man
United. He was United.
Okay, so he's really a big. At the time, I was a Man U supporter. I don't like saying Man U fan because when they are playing, I don't see that watch their match. I just buy Man U jersey. So yeah.
But it's funny because when you're talking about doing due diligence for footballers, like the due diligence is easy to do because the data is available. How much do they make? You answered Google. You said, okay, we're talking business. But so we're talking about the Ighalo one, and then there's the other one for the African giant, Burna Boy, and that is a house that has been covered by Architectural Digest, which I'm sure as an architect is like those are the things dreams are made of.
Oh yeah.
So again, how did that come about?
Remember I started with consistency as the word, right?
Yes.
So we finished with Ighalo's work while we're building. Coincidentally, Burna bought lands too in that same estate, right? Burna's mom, who is his manager, while she was driving around the estate to I don't know, let me say survey or whatever.
Yeah.
They had bought land there. She was looking at other people's houses, and she drove by Ighalo's house, and she looked at the project board and like, we're not done, but a project board will have an image
details,
of what the house would look like,
yeah.
and the details, architect, engineer, yada yada yada. And she looked at the image of what was going to be built, and she liked it. And then she saw the architect's contact address, architect's name, or company name, all that stuff.
This is truly favor of our labor, man. But continue.
I like saying this story so much because of how borderline unrealistic it is.
Yeah.
Right? That was his mom went there and then, took my details, company name, phone number, email, all that stuff, and then reached out. Now, the other part of the story, I was driving precisely on Lekki Ikoyi Bridge in traffic. I was with my other friend I told you about that were colleagues in the old firm. And then a call came in, strange number. I picked it up. So, it was a Bluetooth speaker, whatever. You could hear the conversation.
Yeah.
And the person just goes, "Hi, my name is Boss Egulu. You don't know me." I held myself and rolled my eyes so hard, like, of course I don't know you. How you just call me and tell me, of course I don't know you. I'm like, "Hi, my name is Boss Egulu. You don't know me." Like, okay, I just got your contact from a project. I rolled my eyes. I thought it was some prank call.
Someone's having a laugh.
Do you understand? But, okay, yeah. So, I have this parcel of land I want to develop. A 25-year-old musician. So want to, like, okay, she tried to give me the brief over the call, like, you know what, I'll have to call you back, right? Because I'm driving, right? You see, your name is Boss Egulu, right? She said yes. I'm like, okay, no problem. And my friend goes, "Oh, this thing really happened. People, they see project, I bet it's just probably one of those people that, are just calling for the sake of calling." Remember, I don't know her name, I don't know anything. So I was taking my friend to his own site, right? And then we got to his site. He came down. I was like, I'll join you. Let me call this lady back. And I called her back, and then she goes, "Oh yeah, okay, sorry." Before that, I told him, this woman sounds, I feel like this artist she's talking about is her son or is her child.
Yeah.
Because she didn't disclose. She just said, "I want to build a house for a 20-something-year-old musician. This is that." So I called her, and then we spoke for a bit. She told me, "Oh, this is what she wants to do. This is what." I said, "Okay, fine, no worries. I'll send you our email address so you can put this brief in writing and send me your survey plan, this and that and that." She didn't, at the time, she didn't even tell me where she saw my contact. So ended the call. Of course, what do you think I did? Open Google. And I opened Google, search Boss Egulu. It's Boss Egulu, Burna Boy's manager. I went straight at that Burna Boy's age. Also 25 years old. I can't remember the age at the time.
Whatever it was, yeah.
But it just made sound like, holy shit. That was what I just said. And I was so scared. So my friend now came back and said, "I've been waiting for you now." I was like, "Bro, look at this." Like, what happened? Boss Egulu. "You want design Burna Boy house?" That was the reaction. I promise you, that was his reaction. And that was it. So like, Omo. Guy together. We're in the car. Omo. No, it's each again. With no move. Omo. It was just all that. And then, eventually met up with her, went to the site, did all the, the rest is history. So that was it.
Okay. And what was that experience like for you? Like, obviously working with these clients. And
okay,
I can imagine they might be very demanding, but obviously there's a fact, like, there's taking a product from, like, in this case, from design to the actual vision or the actual execution. So what was that process like for you, particularly working with these? We've spoken about Ighalo and we've spoken about Burna, but yeah, what's the experience like?
I'll say it's extremely satisfying, regardless of the client anyways. Where you go, so the best part for me is how you see an empty land. It's empty, right? So nothing exists there. Then because you put pen to paper and then you discuss with the client, or you doesn't, one day something comes up. I don't know if you get that.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think one of the highlights for me was his mother being his manager. We never got to meet him during the design process, because it's like he had given her an assignment and she had delivered to us what the dream was. And I remember the first day I met him, I think that was one of the best, let's say, experiences or reactions, because the mom just told me, "Okay, fine." I don't know which she was being fun. Like, you meet the musician today, like, if you think I don't know who it is at this point, like, really? Do you get? So went there with all the presentation drawings and everything. Then I got into the house, sat down, And then while we were waiting, she's like, well, she'll go up to call him. I should just wait here for him. So for some reason, maybe where she passed versus where he passed, they missed themselves. I don't know. So she went up to call him. So me, I'm sitting down pressing my phone, and then someone walks in. I didn't look up, and I goes, oh, hi. I don't look up. You can't be too starstruck when you are doing business. You have to be yourself. So I just thought like, oh, hi. And I got up, shook her, like, oh, my mom says, yeah, can I just, should you wait for her? I don't need to wait for her. And then I started walking him through the design before of course, his mom already knew what the design was. Yeah. So by the time his mom came, she was like, okay, just carry on. And then I remember his reaction. All he said was, you're busting my head. That's what he said. So now I feel like, I said, you're busting. I was sitting the swimming pool is in. So you're busting. The window is in. You're busting. The house is in. It was just interesting to see. He's like, you're busting. And then when we're done, he just held the presentation slide, looking at it, and he got up like that and walked out. And the mom just turned to me, you have cost problem. I didn't get what she was saying. Like, cost problem. I said, that man is not going to sleep tonight. I said, I don't know. And then he left for a bit. So himself, my mom, I think we're just catching up or talking. I don't know if we're talking about the house or something. And he came back maybe 15, 20 minutes after. And he looked at me like, you're still here. Mr. Man, go to site. Want to start work? I said, eh. So he was that eager. And then, we just ran with it from there. And what was interesting, there were a number of challenges with some specifications. What I talk about the most is like the swimming pool. So we had this really interesting fusion between the swimming pool and the house. Mm-hmm. It's almost like one continuous space. It's really interesting. So when that was requested, it was a bit tricky because we designed and built the house. I have my company does design and build. So we went through the design phase and then built the house as well. So he wanted that whole water should touch the house. And I think the whole reverse thing, as a Port Harcourt boy, he likes water and all that stuff. So we just, decided to push the envelope, like, instead of the water just touching the building, let it float, like, overhang. So when you see the house, you feel like the water is coming from underneath the building. That's the swimming pool. And it's a really large swimming pool, and that's like the living room. So if you're sitting in the living room like this, all you just keep seeing is like unlimited or unhindered visual continuity. You're just sitting in the parlor, you're seeing a large sheet of glass, you're seeing the swimming pool, you're seeing the garden. So it's just really interesting to see that we went from just scribbling ideas, drawing it, detailing it, and then boom, we built it.
Now, to bring it back to the God thing, but that's like the manifestation of God's beauty. Because the fact that, like you said, it's like blank land, it's basically a blank canvas, and you can design, essentially just draw something, whatever, and you end up and you come up with like a masterpiece. Like, that's literally what God sent us on earth to do. So I feel like with Nigerian architecture, there's a recurring conversation we're always having in terms of just how badly designed our city and our city spaces are. So you're looking at, like, with properties, like, there's now people are building, and they're building high. They're not building because I guess there's no space, so they're building high, but everything is all concrete. There's no grass, no landscaping,
100%,
zero functionality. So the first question I'm very curious about, obviously, as someone who has studied this and works in that industry, first of all, how the hell did we get here?
I have the right answer, right? But I'm also trying to be careful. Because I would just say it's regulation. The city we are in right now, do we have those problems?
No.
Why? It's regulation.
Yeah.
Whoever is responsible for regulation. Okay. Now, a number of these buildings we talk about in Lagos, right, that don't seem functional, don't have greenery, landscape, yada, yada, right? We are not certain that they were designed by architects. I can tell you that for free. Yeah. Easy. You know why? There are a lot of draftsmen that just because they have either drawn something for an architect. Truthfully, if you don't study architecture and you've drawn, maybe an architect just communicates his design to you over time, you understand that person's thinking process
and language. Yeah.
So you can feel like, I can, oh God, don't they tell me to draw this thing? I feel drawn myself. Do you understand? And then you try, but you are not an architect.
Yeah. That's okay. What that reminds me of is I have an estate agent.
Yeah.
A guy who, if I'm looking for something.
Yeah, he gets you property and stuff.
He calls himself barrister. But But this guy is not. One day, the day I discovered he wasn't a lawyer, I wanted to die. I said, so why are you going around calling yourself a barrister?
See, I'm happy you have that experience because it just exactly buttresses what I'm saying. So I'm sure maybe some real estate body is probably fighting that problem of just estate agents calling themselves barristers. Because for that guy to call himself a barrister, I promise he's not the first person.
Of course not. So
that's my point. There's that too. So in my line of work, I can speak professional and tell you that a very good number. And of course, there's even the issue of, to call yourself an architect, you have to be a registered architect. How many architects are registered in Nigeria? When I got registered, I was, my number was 4,600 and something. I got registered in 2018 or 2019, I don't remember. So 2019 was 5 years ago. And as at that time, there were roughly 5,000 registered architects. I don't know if you see where I'm going with this. So again, lack of professionals doing what professionals should do. You have quacks, design whatever, and then the professionals will take the heat for it. Because after all, somebody has paid that person and is doing your work, so they assume it's you that is doing it. No. Clients too also have a hand to play in this, and clients range from individual clients to real estate developers. Because if you've gone to make an architect, will tell you, I'm charging you 100 naira for this. However, I draft and tell you, bring 20 naira, go run them for you. And then, of course, like I mentioned to you before, real estate guys and how it's about maximizing profit or maximizing spaces, as the case may be. They would pay the 20 naira guy, and the 20 naira guy would also copy and paste. And what I know vividly that some developers do, they can come to me as an architect, actually pay my fees, okay? And what they've asked me to design is on a, let me just say, 500 square meter plot, right? When I say plot is 500 square meters, remember that 500 can be 50 by 10, can be 5 by 100. Okay, now the location of that plot, what I have designed is a 4-bedroom house. For me to design that house, I've taken a lot of things into consideration. Wind, sunrise, sunsets, all that stuff. But because I have given him his drawing, we have executed the design, he has a copy of that. Without my knowledge, he can go to Enugu, find a 500 square meter land,
replicate the same design without taking into consideration the context
things that I took into consideration. Now, somebody will see that design in Enugu and say, how person go build this kind of thing? I don't know if you see where I'm going. Yeah. And to a large extent, they will blame an architect. At the point where that design gets to Enugu, it's not an architect's work anymore. I don't know if you see where I'm going. Because I have done my due diligence in Lagos. But without my knowledge, you have gone to replicate it somewhere. And you think it is a masterpiece there. It's not going to be functional. But they will blame the person that designed it. Whereas nobody designed it. So yeah, those are some issues that, affect how we are developing rapidly in Lagos, but it's not a progressive development.
Okay, so now we've kind of gotten basically how we got here. So I guess is how do we get out of here? So like, what are the solutions? Like, how can we make design more functional and more inclusive?
First of all, will be regulations. Like I said, that's the real fundamental problem. Just regulations. That's if the regulatory authorities or whoever is in charge of making these things right should not let things slide. So for instance, yesterday, a colleague of mine sent me a building on, you know Isaac John, right?
Yeah, no, John.
Everybody knows Isaac John.
Jerry.
I don't remember if it was a 6 or 8 story building. Bottom line is, Lagos State government is shutting down and revoking their approval because they added 2 more floors. So maybe they approved a 6-story and the person built an 8-story building. I feel, honestly, Isaac John is one of the most known streets in Lagos.
Yeah.
How did that building go from 6 to 8 and nobody noticed it?
It's funny because there's a mall on Admiralty like this where you can literally see they built like maybe some additional floors. It's clear, like as far just being on the street, you can tell. And again, it's like Admiralty is one of the most
popular streets
in Lagos. So like,
if you can notice it, do you see? That's something that it comes back to regulation. That either somebody is taking money backstage, these things get approved, these things get clearance, and then some people are blatantly just throwing caution to the wind because I mean, nothing will happen.
Till something happens.
Till something happens.
They now clamp down.
For instance, that those 3 towers that collapsed somewhere near Odion or so.
Yeah.
There were several stories of how it was supposed to be a 10-story, ended up being 16. It was supposed to be 16, ended up being 20. My point is, again, you and I can point out Odion to be one of the highest brow streets, and then something went on from being 10 to getting to 16. It didn't do it overnight, you know. So it to come down to, back to your question, to come down to regulation and the authorities just taking charge to ensure that, okay, for instance, they make a law that for every 500 square meters you want to build, you should allocate at least 50 square meters, which is 10%, which is small anyways, to landscaping. Lagos is fast becoming a concrete jungle. I don't know if you ever thought about it. We don't have a park in Lagos. I
walk a lot, so I know that we don't. Yeah, like.
And if you tell me one of those things in Alausa is a park, we might throw hands. Those are gardens or roundabout, as the case may be. A park like a central park in New York. We don't even have any parcel of land that is 1/10 of it.
Lagos is even barely walkable. Like, because I have this thing a lot because I walk a lot, so it's like I'm always trying to get people. I'm always trying to get people to come with me, and they don't want to do it because it's just, for them, it's like, this is just such a chore.
Yeah. The other bit too, which is even a sensitive topic now, because there's that conversation about a new coastal road they're trying to do towards Cross Rivers.
Calabar,
Yeah. I don't know if you say you walk a lot. If you walk around the Oniru axis of Victoria,
I don't even walk around the Oniru axis.
But even if you drive, I'm just saying, like, even if you just visually think about it, there is no 1 meter span where you can see the water for free.
Oh yeah. This is another thing people have been, like, the fact that basically the beach
they've
commercialized
the whole beachfront coastline of Lagos. It doesn't. You go to other countries where you have those coastal roads where you just drive. You see videos now, guys just drive out with their drop top, enjoy taking the atmosphere with. It's stressful. It's a lot.
Okay, so in terms of obviously trying to understand you, we've spoken about the love of travel. So, just out of curiosity, what's the most fun travel experience you've had recently?
Well, I'll say my most recent trip, which was sometime last week. We drove from here to Scotland, and it was with family. Okay. So it was just fun. It was like a 6-hour drive or so.
Okay.
It was just fun. I've not done a road trip in the longest time. So yeah,
the road was good.
I don't know. There's a part of the story I want to tell you because I actually spoke to my mother-in-law about it. So when we went, we left we're around maybe 5 or 4:30 thereabouts. So we got to Scotland by around 10 p.m.
Okay.
To see my elder brother. I mean, it was fun. Coming back, we started thinking, this one that we left by around 4 got into a lot of traffic. Let's leave late. We're actually thinking, should we leave like midnight or should we leave like early hours? That was all the conversation was. What time should we leave?
Yeah.
There was no other factor. What I mean, no other factor is the light on the road. Is it safe to move at this time?
Yeah.
But you get, there was nothing else other than, I think we should leave by 4:30 to be best for us. Let's leave by 6. We eventually left by 6, and we got to where we're going by around midnight or 1 a.m. Because we stopped again. We stopped once or twice on the road to either get drink, ease ourselves, whatever. My point is, if we're speaking from the Nigerian point of view, I can't think of anywhere you want to drive to for 6 hours that you would think it's a good idea to leave your starting point by 6 p.m.
That leads me to another question. How can we develop Nigerian tourism in a way that's like fun and cool?
I think it's very simple. Everything should come back to authorities. You know how people take little things, and because of how the world is a global village, literally, something as little is short. Let me give you a perfect example. Do you know the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I know the Stanley Cup.
Do you know how many people have mentioned Stanley Cup to you in recent times?
Someone mentioned it to me 2 days ago.
Including my wife. I have 2 other friends that in the space of the last 1 week, please get me a Stanley Cup. I'm sending Stanley Cup to... I'm like, for Christ's sake, you know you drink water before? You understand me? I don't know if you get my point.
I guess.
My point is, Stanley Cup, even as a kid, we had flasks and stuff now. Water is not that hard to carry now. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But there's something driving Stanley Cup. I don't know whatever marketing they're doing. I'm using that to buttress my point that for us to push tourism, It's a matter of picking one thing that we can hold on to, right? And just, let me say, force it to the world.
Yeah.
For example, in London here, I don't want to sound unappreciative of historical stuff. The Big Ben, what is the Big Ben?
It's a clock. Is it?
No, you're right. That's my point.
Yeah.
I'm speaking at you that.
The way you said that, I started thinking, is this something else?
No, I'm saying to you that I'm sure it never dipped in your head that the Big Ben is a clock.
Yeah.
You would get up from your house.
I gotta say clock.
You don't get clock for us. Or you don't have wristwatch. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand.
You can take anything, right, however flimsy or interesting, and just spin it because of the way the world works, right? We can use one place in Lagos that I feel that has been underutilized is the National Theatre. That building was built either late 80s or early 90s. I don't remember the exact.
Was it late? I know the design is built around the heart of a military guy.
My point is, till date, I don't know how much you appreciate architecture, but if you can appreciate
I love
not even architecture, just things. That building is super iconic.
I used to go there when I was a kid.
It's super iconic. Yeah. My point is, we can still use that building till date, and this is a building that was built. So it was built way ahead of its time, which means it can still be turned into something that will be a tourist attraction.
It's like, think about the fact that when Burna did the Grammy performance in 2021,
thank you. So that building,
it was that building he used, like when it was like the From Home Grammys.
Yeah, it was that building,
and because there's a reason why. Like,
to buttress your point, there was a performance Davido did at TBS, and they made the stage.
Yeah. That was theater. His show last year.
Into the National Theatre. Yeah. My point is, that is just one building. For instance, when Dubai was pushing their own narrative of tourism and all that,
with the Expo and all,
the Burj Al Arab, that's a 7-star hotel, became their symbol, sort of, just because it's a building, it's curved. I'm not trying to say it's not a great building. I'm saying they built something great, but they pushed it and sold it to everybody. So we can still take our National Theatre. I'm just mentioning one of many.
You know,
and
not the Lekki Koyi Bridge.
No. I would like, if I National Theatre, I came and say, God forbid. Just like, so I can't start going around mentioning a lot of things. I don't know if you've ever heard about the Great Wall of Edo. So
yes,
now,
I have.
You might have heard about it.
But not
very unlikely you've seen a picture.
No, I've definitely not seen it.
If you look online, you probably wouldn't see a picture of it. Now, very recently, because I am largely interested in history of Nigeria as a whole, right? Because I just feel like Nigeria didn't just fall in 1960. There was something before that, and I feel like we're really great. That's my opinion. I was talking to a historian recently, and he told me how. So I'd read up on the Great Wall of Benin, and at the time before it was destroyed, partly, not the whole thing was destroyed. It was, if not the largest man-made, one of the largest man-made elements on Earth. We as Nigerians don't really know about it. Now, this historian guy I was talking to about it, when I mentioned that, look, we need to talk about things that Nigeria has and we can sell our market. I said, this Great Wall of Benin, I'm really interested in it. Like, that's, people know about it, but we just haven't, talked about it enough to inform people. It actually runs all the way from Benin, Edo State, towards Badagry. I'm like, what do you mean? Ron say, that it gets all the way towards Badagry. I don't have evidence to back it up.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying this is something that someone has even talked about, and he's like, they're trying to still put something together. Obviously, looking for investors and whatnot to do that historic part of it, but something as big as the Great Wall of Benin, the average Nigerian doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
Not talk about is it Obudukatu Ranch? What's the other one? The one in Calabar too. Tinapa. No, they are little stuff. Right, but they are big as well. That if we decide that we want to focus on tourism, Nigeria has great weather around the clock.
Yeah,
we really have great weather. We have great weather around the clock. So if we're to really push tourism, it will be a walk in the park.
I've enjoyed this conversation, but I think we're kind of winding down.
Yeah.
So when I reach the end of this conversation, I ask my guests 2 questions.
Oh boy.
So the first one is, you sat down with me, you've listened to all the questions I have for you. Is there any question you'd like to ask me?
I feel like I asked you the questions already, and it's just like how you're pushing this idea. I told you, like, the name Overnight Success, I like how it's almost contrasting to what it's trying to say. Because there's that narrative that everybody believes, this one just blew overnight.
I mean, some people blow overnight, so
I would disagree.
One or two. Now, the second question is, so if you're my producer for the day,
oh God,
and you could get me 5 guests, so maybe people, not 5, any number, people whose maybe journeys or stories you think you would be interested in hearing, or you think would serve the public well, or that you know of who you're like, you know what, people need to know more about this person. Who would those people be?
Number one would be I'm trying to remember his name, the Cocoa Bar guy I mentioned to you.
Okay.
One girl come, I remember his name. I remember because they call him Rockwell. I don't think that's his real name. They call him Rockwell. I feel like that's his nickname, but that's one person.
Okay.
Bayo Moboriowo.
Okay.
I don't know if you know him.
I know him.
Yeah, we went to school together, and I mean, I saw his growth. So that's someone to that. He will largely converse overnight success, but he went through a lot to get to where he is today. Can we hold on to those two for now? Because I really wish I would have thought so well, because I know I can think of other people, but right now those are two that just come to my head straight up. And then, I mean, I see that they're doing amazing stuff.
That's fine. It's fine. Okay, so we've reached the end of this interview. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge, expertise, everything that you kind of shared with us.
Yeah.
And, wishing you lots of luck on your journey.
Thank you.
And, more impactful, more high-profile clients. And, yeah. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Catch you this time next week. Bye.